into it. So next I'd like to welcome to the stage Violet Whitney and William Martin. They're co-founders of Spatial Pixel. Interestingly enough, Spatial Pixel is an AI research and design studio focused on empowering people with digital and spatial agency. They believe that technology is bringing people closer and closer to the screens, and their hope is to tear our attention away from said screens and ultimately teach us healthy social interactions within the city. So for starters, Ms. Violet Whitney teaches tangible spatial computing courses at Columbia University, here at Penn, and at the University of Michigan. She's actually helped design a new master's program at Columbia called Computational Design Practices. Outside of that, Ms. Whitney also co-leads a group called Architecty, which is a meetup network for urban tech. Furthermore, William Martin serves as Director of AI at Consensus, a blockchain and Web3 tech company known for MetaDesk and MetaMask, excuse me, and crypto wallet. He's also an adjunct professor at Columbia University. And together with their experiences, they have brought Spatial Pixel to the world, so I'm excited to turn it over to them to tell you more about the work that they do.
All right. Okay, great. All right. Oh, we both have one. Look at that, collaboration. Well, thanks for having us here. We're going to talk about Spatial Pixel, and we'll talk a little bit in a moment about the sad fact of the demo and the difficulty of AI. But before we get into that, I would love to just intro what Spatial Pixel is. You can go to the next one. Great, okay. So when I say we're an AI research and design studio that's focused on digital and spatial agency, that's like random words, you probably don't know what I mean. What we really mean is that we spend so much of our time looking at our phones and our devices. We spend so much time interacting with personal computers and media. So we're really interested in the way that you don't have to interact with the media, but rather we can be in the world, looking around, and be able to interact with our devices much more naturally, the way I would talk to William or talk to you. I can like point at something and say like, oh, hey, what was that restaurant we were going to down the street? I don't want to have to pull my freaking computer or phone out every time we need something. So we want to keep people present in the real world. That's me being very sad. This morning, that was the demo we aimed to bring here today. So we will show you a little bit. We have a lot of video that show you how these interactions work. So hopefully this will still be fun. But essentially, you'll see it in a bit. I just want to say the demo is broken and that AI multimodal is hard. And a lot of people are working on this because it has a lot of different technology components that talk to one another. So a lot of what we're doing right now is research. It is very early.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the APIs that we use just broke all of our demos yesterday, all of a sudden, without any warning. So, but next time. So what we're going to show you is a series of projects and ideas that what we believe show novel ways of interacting with spaces, and particularly cities. And particularly in this age of artificial intelligence. So we hope to tantalize your imaginations a bit. This first one is set in a pop-up art gallery here in Old City. And it's going to show how we can interact with a space like this without necessarily being present in the space, without if physical access isn't granted to that space. So enjoy. little box holds the names of every artist whose work appears in this gallery. When you peer inside, the name of the artist appears there. And so when the name of the artist is there, the space highlights their work inside the gallery. And so when you move it, the gallery starts highlighting all the work, one artist at a time. So we think this creates a much more social and tangible way of interacting with art from a distance.
All right, so we're becoming more and more disconnected from reality in the world around us, I have to say. So first we had the television, and then we had the laptop, and then we had the phone, and now we're putting the screen on our face. So we really want to try and get back into interactions with the real world. And we think that as screens are getting closer to our faces, it also makes us more susceptible to the hijacking of things like ads and the incentives of companies. So we want people to have their more peripheral cognition. Great. So this is just a demo showing interacting with applications I would use every day, just in the natural world. So we sometimes forget how difficult it is to access information on our devices. What if we could have something like a cocktail recipe when I'm in the kitchen just come up naturally? So information should be where you want it, when you need it, versus having to go fish for it.
But this isn't really the user experience that tech companies have been giving us for the last 10 or 20 years. What we have are screens, which are essentially little windows, into other windows. And it starts to remove a lot of the senses that we have as humans. Humans have spatial cognition and have embodied cognition. Our thoughts and our reasoning and behaviors and the environments that we're in affect our physical bodies, but also affect how we understand information around us. And so our sensory interactions with our physical environments actually affect our memory, our mood, our experience overall. For example, we naturally sort of organize our desks and rooms to accommodate our preferences. And so we remember where particular things are on our desk just intuitively. That intuition doesn't necessarily translate all that well to a virtual desktop. And so one of our ongoing experiments is with an AI assistant, but an AI assistant that is aware of all of the different screens you may have, all the different devices, like an iPad, a projector, a desktop computer, but it sort of knows, if you will, where they are around you. And so let you actually interact with them and try to regain some of that spatial and embodied cognition. So here we go.
Can you hear that? Can you try? Wait, if it goes higher, I would do it.
Computer, create a new event called Fun Times for 2 p.m. this Wednesday. Put it on the right display. Okay, thanks.
So I can just talk a little bit about what's happening here. I'm just speaking in natural language. I'm saying, hey, create an event, call it this, and bring it up on my projector or bring it up on my tablet. or my left display. And so I don't have to speak with explicit commands. I don't have to talk like a computer. I can talk like I would talk to him.
Hey computer, bring up a new Google Doc on my phone. Thanks.
That's the kind of thing she asks me to do all the time.
And so I think, it creates a much more, not just natural way of interacting with computers, but it allows them to be more peripheral.
Hey computer, bring up my homework Pinterest on the wall. Thanks.
And I'll just tell you that the amount of time I spend looking for files and things on my device where I know exactly what it is, but I cannot remember where it is I'd say probably 50% of my time. It's sad.
Hey computer, bring up my last mural on my sketchpad. Thanks.
Great. All right, so we're interested in this way of interacting much more naturally. And when I say naturally, I mean I should be able to point at things and ask about them. And I should be able oh, what is this? I should be able to say, hey, is there something nearby? And humans understand all the different ways that we interact with our bodies. They understand spatial context. So it's not just what I say, it's what I'm doing, it's where I'm at. If I say to all of you, hey, after this is over, let's go brainstorm this out by the coffee, okay? So just think about how much different modes you use to understand that context. Let's, everyone in here, brainstorm this, probably whatever's up on this table. Out by the coffee. Oh, probably the coffee we were at earlier at this location. Or if I say the cafe, you kind of know which cafe I'm talking about. So you're using things like location, my emotion, I'm not sarcastic in how I said it. You know the words. So humans use all that different mode of reasoning to holistically understand my intention. And we're starting to see that change where, if you've heard of multimodal AI, what that is that type of multimodal reasoning. And it really changes the way we can interact with computers because we can actually get away from the screen and talk more naturally. So we think you should be able to, point around at a gallery and say, hey, what is this? And get context about that. What artist made this work?
The artist who made this artwork is Tonka 23.
What is this a list of?
This is a list of locations visited during a backpacking trip across South America in the summer of 2013. It includes the places stayed, people met, and method of transportation in each location. It serves as a travelogue and personal narrative of the traveler's experiences.
What's the southernmost place on this list?
Ushuaia, Argentina.
Okay, so you get the idea. I'm pointing at things, selecting them, and then asking questions about what I'm pointing at.
Right. So in addition to that, what you're beginning to see a bit of a hint of is giving people a way not only to say, interact with a space, just like that by waving your hand, but also programming that space, particularly programming that space with natural language, instead of, say, configuring a device or writing code. And so we're starting to experiment with this notion of being able to just talk to a room and give it intelligent behaviors. And so one demo that we have, just a beginning piece of this, is the ability to go to an environment like this and essentially type in a behavior that you want to see and watch the computer bring that to life. So this is just the first ingredient of this, and we'll show you how that starts to become more spatial here in a second. This one might be a little loud. Oh, maybe not.
It's okay.
So this is the dreamy music. So.
At Spatial Pixel, we've been exploring ways to make technology more natural and embedded into our environments.
This is the narrated version.
And today, artificial intelligence is giving us the ability and opportunity to explore many more possibilities. Engineers are using AI to improve the quality of their work with programming languages like Python and JavaScript. But for creative coding, for artists and designers, and the rest of us, we thought, why not program with natural language? Here, one can type simple prompts like draw a red circle that follows the mouse, and then see it come alive as code, generated by OpenAI and p5.js. Next, we want to build an open way for sharing these sketches and enabling building all kinds of extensions and capabilities with natural language.
And so as we're encouraging a way to move beyond screens, we also think moving beyond the peripherals of those screens, our devices attached to those screens, is also worthwhile. And so moving away from mice and keyboards, and as we know, the keyboard layouts that we have today are based off of typewriters, so the QWERTY layout hasn't changed much in over 100 years. But so expanding our vocabulary of interactions with machines to include gesture is something that we're really interested in. And so here in particular, like as we use our hands to explain and to help move a conversation along, we're also trying to explore these notions of how we can get more and more intelligent gestural interface, like gestural interactions to inhabit our machine experiences.
And just one thing I really think is interesting is like, just like Ryan is saying, we've been using our mice and our keyboards, even though it's not directly the same capability that something like a hand or a body brings. So the hand as an interface itself has been used throughout time. There are different ways of mapping, like counting and math mechanisms to the hand. We use our hand for music. There are like different types of ways of mapping music to the hand that have been used for like centuries and centuries. So we think that there's a profoundness to just using that technology, those types of mappings that have been developed over time.
Right, and then this quick demo is trying to combine all those ideas in sort of the next logical step. And so you'll see us speaking to a space and interacting with this object.
A blue circle moves between the left of the canvas and the left of the chair. A yellow circle and a green square fall on the chair. Purple circles emerge, growing bigger from the center of the chair. on the left side of the campus.
It's kind of interesting. I'm not just programming. I can talk about things that are that the world knows about. Great. So beyond just programmable space and how that can make spaces and programming more accessible, we want to take this idea to the city. So we've been working on ways that you can talk to Philadelphia and have an AI that's trained more specifically on Philadelphia or a city, like where you're in. So, why can't I call up, instead of going on to an obscure website to find out about city services, can I actually call and find out if I can get access to homeless services? Maybe I can find out about a local development happening. We think that can really extend accessibility. And then we can ask things as we go around the city. We can reason and understand about things happening in the environment. So while I'm walking around, if I point at a sign and my phone knows my location, it knows what sign I'm next to, I can ask things like, does this bus go here? Information about that sign, and we can actually get very specific information from Philadelphia's data sets. And so wait, before you play this, I just have to caveat. One of these, this was what we hoped to show you today. You will see the version of it working outside. This is very much still in progress, so if you notice, when I ask about getting to Liberty Lands Park, it does not answer correctly.
What was important to Philadelphia about Quakers?
Quakers were integral to Philadelphia's founding, emphasizing religious tolerance and participatory government.
Does the 5 go to Liberty Lands Park?
The SEPTA Route 5 bus does not go directly to Liberty Lands Park.
Where does Route 48 go?
The SEPTA Route 48 bus travels from the area of 27th and Allegheny to the Frankfurt Transportation Center.
Can I park here right now?
Yes, you can park there, as the sign indicates the restrictions apply Monday to Saturday, and it's currently Sunday.
What's the most popular place on this list?
The most popular place listed is likely the Independence Park sites, which includes historic attractions like Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell.
What is currently playing at the Arden Theater?
The Arden Theater Company is currently showcasing Lady Sitting, which has been extended and runs through March 3rd.
Okay. And so we'll leave you with this. We're also interested in how robotics can play into this. We're interested in how not only these individual experiences can be enhanced, but also social experiences. Think about sitting around a dinner table or playing a board game and having AI add to that. And so one of the areas we really want to explore is also robotics again. And so it would be a stretch to call this particular video like a true experiment, but we were surprised at how people around Old City took to this device. And so we're exploring different platforms, everything from Lego to what you're about to see. This is our puppy.
You get a robot donkey? Did you get a robot donkey?
Our poor downstairs neighbor. So we'll just show you us walking around the city and people interacting. I think the important thing here is come find us in Philadelphia. We'll be doing strange experiments outside. And we just welcome you to, if you're working on any concepts related to this type of thing, if you know people in robotics that would be interested in programmable spaces, please put us in touch. We're very interested in playing around with what these can do. All right. Thank you very much. Please subscribe.
So we'll take a few questions. Does anybody have any questions in the audience?
Here's about the inputs. Like in a lot of your demos, you're taking pretty visual things. We didn't see any cameras. We didn't see like where the sensing starts.
Yeah, multiple types of inputs. So a lot of our setup relies on hand tracking, but we also have some things like object detection with a camera. So we're always using, almost always using some sort of camera, but then also location. So not all of them use location. A lot of these are just things like hand tracking. Yeah, what else would you say?
I mean, that's pretty much where we're starting now, or low cost webcams. And the vision models that are being made available to us are getting more and more robust. And so some of what you see in the demos are actual like outputs of one of those vision models. So things like taking a photo of a parking sign, like you'd be surprised. Like if you're on ChatGPT Plus, you might even just try that one day, like walk around and take a photo of a parking sign here in Philly and ask, can I park here today? One thing that we're trying to do, at least with the transit ones, is to build a system that accesses real-time data, like from Philadelphia's data sets and like open data, so that we can actually get accurate responses. But yeah, like right now it's all low-cost stuff. I mean, the robot's an exception, right? Because it has a spinning LiDAR on the front of it. And so some of the sensors like Intel RealSense and the UltraLeap, like we're looking at those as well. And there are a lot of new sort of like LiDAR scanners you can buy that are relatively low cost, like less than $500. But really trying to bring, like even our phones, like past the iPhone 12 Pro, I think, they have LiDAR on them. And so we're really trying to make that, like make this stuff accessible with the technology that we have. We're not really trying to say like, build the next greatest device and like sell it like Apple. So like the Rabbit R1, which I think I'm really fascinated with. But we're not trying to like make an Apple clone. It's more about like how do we facilitate this with technology that we already have. And then maybe some recommendations on like buy a projector and put it in your kitchen, like stuff like that.
So in the example of the transit signs, you would still expect to take out a phone, use an onboard camera or something like that? Or like,
No,
where would that,
yeah,
where would that vision come
so
from?
in that instance, we're gonna use something like location and being able to access a data set. Like there's actually already great data sets on all the historic markers in Philadelphia. So we can know already, a trained model can know what all those signs are based on the context of where you're at.
Got it.
And then
That's
you can
really
just have an earpiece in. So we actually really wanna try and get people away from like pulling the phone out.
Yeah. That helps a lot for that disconnect for me, thanks.
Anything?
Beautiful presentation. One of my concerns is, especially when we're talking about AI, is what kind of security mechanisms are going to be in place, especially now with cyber warfare as a prominent domain coming into the future. So what kind of mechanisms do you guys have in place for some of this?
I think right now, none. I mean, honestly, we're a research entity. We're very much like getting started and trying to honestly even understand some of these questions, like what things will we have to talk about. But I think it's a very valid one. It's like, how do we make sure that some of these systems aren't tapped and hijacked? I think it's, in many ways, for what we're doing, it's much more about, a lot of this is information retrieval. So we're gonna wanna have the same protections that like a city website might have that accesses the same information. I think once you start orchestrating things in the environment, or you have actual actuators that change things in the environment, that's where we have to get really cognizant. And so I think in many instances, we're trying to tap into existing systems so that you can also play off of the protections that exist from some of these companies.
Yeah, totally. And there's also quite a spectrum between security and privacy and then bias. And so the security aspects, I think, like is my data vulnerable to attack, right? Right now we rely on the platforms that we use, but we're also like, there's also quite a growing movement around open source AI models that you can run locally on your devices. And so in some cases, like if we can create an experience that never leaves your phone or never leaves your computer and it doesn't leave the hardware that you have, I think that really helps. That also helps with the privacy aspects as well, and like how much information am I sharing with the system, and like am I giving it the right authority and the right permissions at any given time, and like are they respected? So that's another whole area. And then as far as bias is concerned, like that's like the hot topic now with AI in general, and I think where we like to deploy is more about using AI to understand us and deploy it as a mechanical means to control the systems around us, rather than relying it on a kind of sort of like all-knowing oracle, which is kind of the experience we have with ChatGPT and other similar chat now, is like just asking it for like information about the world. And so what we want to do is make sure that that information is authoritative, and so it's coming from like a city, like a city database, because you're actually trying to like navigate somewhere. But also those features that are like understanding our intent and then being able to interoperate with a multitude of systems around us. We're more interested in that. We're less interested in sort of, trying to train it on vast amounts of human knowledge, because there are companies that are spending way more money on that. So Does that make sense?
We'll take one more question. Oh, we have the same question. Any others? Okay.
I'm just thinking about how, if you are creating a very integrated environment, where does that fit into accessibility needs? Because I think a lot of people who are differently able have very different ways of sensing and navigating their environment. And so how exactly are you planning to use either your suite of products or your designs to fit that space?
Yes, I love this question. I think this is one of the huge opportunities for multimodal, is that it actually allows something like this to adapt to the preferences that someone might have. Oh, I actually want to be much more speech-based in here. Oh, actually, no, visual, give me visual cues. So I think we definitely haven't yet built that system. But I do think that being able to adapt to the preferences of someone in a space is very useful. But of course, you have to work through the governance of what happens when there's multiple people in the space. I need things via speech, you need things via visual, maybe we need to layer on both. And so I think what's really interesting that's happening and what we will see in the future is so much of our technology today is geared around personal devices, individual devices, and we've experienced the terrible ways this falls down. Like if you've ever been in a video call and someone in the same room is also in a video call, you can't even think. So we have not really yet figured out how to do collective spaces, collective computing. And there are so many questions we have to figure out still. Like, how do we make this, who gets to change the thermostat when there's 50 people in the room? Those are all the questions that I think are coming with this era that has to do with collective governance and also has to do with accessibility. I think my answer is it will have to adapt to the needs of the people in that space, but we need to figure out how do you do collective, what's prioritized. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. So, amazing.